Okay guys, welcome back. This is the start of our paddle game project. Go ahead and run the program. This is running in the browser, and what's going on is I have a red paddle, and the red paddle is going to follow the mouse, and every time a ball hits the top of the paddle, it disappears from the game until all the balls are gone. And once all the balls are gone, then a whole bunch more balls pop up. But if a ball hits the bottom, then the game is over, and so the game eventually gets more and more complicated because when you have enough balls falling down, it's almost impossible not to have the bottom of the paddle be touched. So, depending on how many balls are, let's say, consumed before you die, then you get a different message. This one says, "Now you're doing well." If I run it again, and this time just on the very first one, oh, it says, "Oh, that was terrible. Your score was 0." So we'll have different messages, different outcomes, something to hopefully improve upon. So it has some really important game elements, and we're going to go ahead and start looking at the code right now. Okay, so what I've done is I have given you guys some starter code, and in the starter code I am telling you what to do. So I've declared some global variables for you. We have an array of balls. These are going to be ball objects. I have number of balls. We're starting with 3 balls. It's going to have a global variable for score and a global variable for game over. As soon as I get game over, as soon as a ball touches the bottom of the paddle, game over is going to become true, and then I will switch to that last or ending screen. Okay, so let's see. It says in here I have load balls. Since the number of balls is a global variable, I don't have to pass that in as a parameter for load balls here, and so load balls down here, notice I just have num balls. It sees that as a global variable, and so I need to get a random location for each ball. I need to get a random velocity. I need to get a diameter, and the velocity and location will be completely random. I want the balls to appear in the upper part of the screen, and I want there to have a velocity moving upward rather than downward when the guys first start. I also don't have it in here, but we need a vector for acceleration too. Remember gravity, we did that earlier in the year. Gravity was achieved by having an acceleration vector with only a positive value in the y direction. So go ahead and put acceleration in there, and then for ball, once you have all those guys, you can pass in, oh, I guess the reason I don't have it here is that in this example I build the acceleration in the ball class, or the ball constructor function. So var ball equals new ball. Now this we've kind of been putting all in one line, but I broke it apart just to see that I'm creating a single new ball object here, and then I'm loading that ball object into my array at position I. And so remember, I is going to go from 0. In the first case, it'll go to 2, so I'll have 0, 1, 2. I'll have 3 balls on the screen. Okay, so all of that's going to happen. Here I have my function that says draw, and draw, I just put a little comment there that says traverse the array. Well, how do you traverse an array? You use a for loop. You go to from the very first, I mean, you can traverse it backwards also. You can go from the last element to the first, but we typically go from element 0 to the last element, which is going to be 1 less than the length. So in the case that we have 3 balls, it's going to go from 0 to 2. In the case that we have 100 balls, it's going to go from 0 to 99. And so you've made plenty of for loops at this point. If you want to double check, you have your old code to look back on. And you really need to get in the habit of looking at old code. Oops, I'm sorry, I guess this was out of the picture when I was showing this earlier. But I have ball equals new ball, and then I push ball into balls. Okay, let's take a quick look at paddle. Now one thing I didn't do here is I did not put parameters in here, and I didn't assign these values. This guy has these 4 properties. He has location, he has color, he has width and height. Okay, and then I only have 2 methods here. I have update and I have render. So I haven't given you the code for that. In fact, we can talk about that in class, but essentially you guys are going to add this code on your own. Maybe you're just going to take a stab at it between this class, between Friday and Tuesday, and I'll answer any questions on Tuesday if you have trouble with that. But essentially what's going on here, actually you will have some trouble, because what's going on with the update, the paddle just goes back and forth and it follows the mouth. So you can try to get that, and I'll talk more about that on Tuesday. In any case, let's see, the other one is ball. And so ball I expect you to be able to get. I didn't put any parameters here, but based on the constructor function, or based on the function call, you should be able to figure out what's going on. Okay, so how many, let's see, how many parameters when I make a new baller going in here? Well, I have a vector, another vector, a diameter, and a color. So this is just a number, this is a color, and so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. So when I come over here, and actually it wouldn't be a bad idea if I took this guy and just put them sort of side by side. I hope you can see that. But if I look at my sketch, I can see how I'm making a ball here on line 38. So the parameters on line 6 and my ball constructor function have to match. And so let's just say I call my location guy L. It'd be better to give it a more descriptive name. And I call my velocity vector V. And I call my diameter D. And I call my color C. Okay, so it would be better to use actually, let's say, more descriptive names. But the basic idea here is I just need to say L and then put these guys in one at a time. Get in the habit of putting semicolons at the end of each line. So that's what's going on. Notice these guys are kind of a slightly different color. Until they're used down below, they're kind of grayed out. But as soon as I use this guy down below down here, he kind of lit up. And so that's helping you visualize and make sure you don't forget any of these. And then I'm not passing in acceleration. So here you are going to have to say, you know, create vector. And for this one, there's really no value. We're going to be creating this down below anyway, or using it down below. So I'm just going to give it the value 0, 0, like we have in the past. Actually, for gravity, I take that back. Actually, for gravity, we need a value here. So I'm going to say 0.1. Remember, y moving in a positive direction is going down. So that's going to give it an acceleration moving downward. I don't remember what value I used for the y value in that particular vector, so you might have to play around with it to get the amount of gravity that you want. Okay, and so that's pretty much it. You guys know about update, you know about render, you know about check edges, and so the big key thing is, the new thing in this program is that we have to deal with something called collision. Okay, let's go back and look at this guy again. Collision means that I have to be able to tell when my ball is touching the paddle. And there's actually two ways it can touch the paddle. It can touch the top of the paddle, or it can touch the bottom of the paddle. So I not only have to check, is the ball colliding, I have to also check and see if the ball is touching, when it collides, is it touching the top of the paddle or is it touching the bottom of the paddle? Or actually, another way to say that, really, I think what I actually did when I wrote this was, is it moving up or moving down? Okay, so maybe that's even easier. You just check the velocity. If the velocity is moving in a negative direction, the ball is moving up. If it's moving in a positive, you have a positive velocity in the y component, it's moving down. So that's kind of the logic. The other bit of logic that we're going to have is we have to have a score that's going to be keeping track. And if I touch the bottom, you're going to generate a different message based on how many points you earned. So I earned 15 points, and it says impressive. And the more points you earn, the better that gets. And so you can think of this as levels, and each time you reach a new level, you get a better or more encouraging statement at the end. Okay, so that's what we're doing for this one. This is just the first phase. What I would like to see you guys have done for Tuesday's class is that I would like to see, you don't have to have the paddle moving. I'd like to see you make the paddle constructor function, the ball constructor function, have the balls bouncing up and down, and when we come back to school on, or come back to class on Tuesday, what I'll have you guys do is add the code inside the paddle class so that the paddle follows the mouse. And if you'll notice, the paddle doesn't just stick to the mouse, it sort of follows it, but it has this kind of slow in, slow out kind of animation effect. It's called lerping. And actually, the good people at P5JS thought to make a lerping function for us, so it has that nice kind of animated movement that looks really, I think it looks really slick. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, so that's going to be this project. This is just enough to get you started. You saw the starter code. I'll put the starter code in the slides as well. And then you guys are going to build your project, and we will pick it up on Tuesday and see if we can get more of that done. Okay, that's it for tonight. Bye-bye.